Well, we need resiliency whenever we're in a life crisis, and life is full of crises. They come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and they usually challenge us emotionally, and they challenge our behaviors. We try to cope. A diagnosis of any significant illness creates a crisis, and certainly a diagnosis of cancer creates a crisis in a person's life. And when we're in crisis, we have lots of emotions. We might be angry, we might be sad, we might be worried, we might not behave in the same kind of ways. And all of this is basically normal to the circumstance. We're just dealing with a difficult situation, and this is what happens. It's just normal. But we need to learn how to take control of that and how to get through that and how to grow in the process. Most often this is just normal to the circumstances. It's like when there's a death, people come in sad, and they're sad because they're in grief. They aren't in depression. They aren't in any unusual state. They're just going through what we go through. And with any crisis, like a diagnosis of cancer, we go through these emotional ups and downs. And the challenge is just to come to terms with that over time. Well, the real challenge is to become resilient. And resiliency is just our ability to bounce back from the ups and downs of life. And there are certain things that we can do. One is that in order to be resilient, we have to be able to hold on to a realistic, optimistic attitude, the most realistic, optimistic attitude we can about what we're going through. We also need to realize that this is a stressful time, and we need to know how to recognize stress, and we need to know how to undo what stress does to us. That doesn't mean to make the world stress-free, but to reduce the emotional and physical impacts of stress. And we need to remember that no matter what our life situation is, we need to still enjoy something. And so every day we need to put some enjoyment into our lives. So that's what resiliency is all about. And if you're resilient, it not only helps you bounce back from the ups and downs of life, it gives you the energy to move forward in life. So you can confront problems and you can overcome obstacles. And at the end of the day, you'll actually have enough energy to enjoy something. Okay, a lot of time I ask people to consider this question. It's like a true or false statement, really. And it says that you are responsible for all of your experiences of life. And you have to decide if that's true or false. Well, the answer is it's true. It's absolutely and totally true. But it's kind of a trick because it says experiences of life. It doesn't say in life. In life, all kind of things happen to us. Cancer is one of those things that can happen. However, how we live with it is our experience of it. And we always determine how we live with everything that happens to us because that mainly depends upon the attitude we adopt towards it. And so a key resiliency skill is being able to assess your attitude, to assess your outlook, and to on purpose try to choose the most realistically positive one that you can. Now the way to do that is you have to start paying attention to the way you think. And to pay attention to the way you think, you have to listen to that little voice that talks to you. It's the one that starts talking early in the morning when you wake up. Might not say anything until you get out of bed, go into the bathroom, stand on the scales. That's when it speaks up. Or maybe you look in the mirror and it speaks up. That's the voice I'm talking about. And it talks to us all day long. And mainly, it's either saying positive things or negative things. We need to catch that voice in action and be sure that we're talking sense to ourselves about the things that are going on, that we're not exaggerating it, that we're not dwelling on the negative, that we're not actually making it worse than it is. Because it's very easy to develop that negative, pessimistic mindset, and that's going to work against you in the process of healing and recovery. But one of the things we do sometimes is to get people to make a list of 20 things they like to do. It sounds simple, but it's very, very difficult. Most of us can't think of those 20 things. And if we don't have a nice long list of things we like to do, we don't have a good menu for being able to enjoy life. And so one thing you have to do is to have a nice long list of things you like to do, and this needs to include things that are having fun, but also things that give you a sense of accomplishment. For example, cleaning the toilet could be one of those things. Might not be much fun, but you really have a sense of accomplishment when you see that. And so every day we need to have options of things we can do that are fun and things that give us a sense of accomplishment, and then we have to do them. The key thing is we have to do them. The problem is, if your mood is low, your energy is low, you might not feel like it. Someone could ask you to do one of your favorite things, and you'll say, no, I don't feel like it. Well, whenever you say that, your strategy is basically you're going to wait until you feel like it, which means you might wait forever. So what you have to do is you have to do it whether you feel like it or not. You have to make yourself do it, because if you make yourself do it and you've ever enjoyed it before, there's a good chance you'll enjoy it again, which means you get your energy back. So every day, by intentionally enjoying things, what we're doing is we're building up our energy resources. Life's going to take them away every day, but if we intentionally do things that are fun, it might just be petting your dog's head, it could be drinking a cup of coffee, or it could be going on a vacation. If we do those things, we're going to get our energy back, and then we're going to have enough energy to practice healing for ourselves. Now, there is some evidence that suggests that the more optimistic you are, the better you're able to deal with physical illness, because the optimistic attitude seems to impact our immune system so that it functions more effectively. And so it would be to your advantage then to try to adopt the most optimistic attitude you could. If nothing else, it's going to at least give you a better quality of life, and it may actually help you heal. Well, the idea of changing your attitude, this is a simple solution to life's problems. And I usually tell people it's simple in the same way that weight loss is simple. To lose weight, you only have to know two things. You eat less and you exercise more. It's very, very simple. However, if you try to lose weight, you'll find it extraordinarily difficult, because simple just means easy to understand. It does not mean easy to do. And so the idea that if you change your attitude, if you change your inner dialogue, that your experience will be better is simple. It's easy to understand. However, it's very, very difficult to do. And so as you work at this, you'll find yourself drifting to negative thinking, and you come back and you start over. And pretty soon you're doing it again, and you come back and you start over. And you keep coming back until you learn how to use that skill effectively. But it's very, very difficult to do. But over time and with practice, it becomes a bit more natural. Well, it's making the commitment to be positive, but then having to practice that over and over and over. Actually, you have to fail enough to get it right. That is, you'll try to do it and it won't work, and you come back and you try again, and eventually, if you fail enough, but you keep trying, see, the key thing is you don't give up. If you keep trying, then you will get it right. And once you get that right, you probably have another issue to work on, and then another issue, because they never all go away. There's always something to improve. Whenever we're ill, we would all like to be cured. And cured is to be, put back to normal. And the problem is sometimes we can be cured and sometimes we can't. But there's another concept, which is the concept of healing. And the idea of healing is that we become a whole person in our life. And when we think about healing, there are 4 levels that we can work on. There's the physical level, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual levels. And what we need to do is every day we need to put some energy into those levels. We need to do something good for the body. We need to pay attention to our attitudes, which is the mental. We need to be in touch with our emotions and be able to express what we feel. And we need to have a sense that we're connected to something greater than we are. And if we work at those enough, those come into kind of a balance. And we have those 4 levels balanced. And then we can talk of becoming healed. We may still have the issue in our life, we may still have the illness, but we're able to live with it better because we're in the process of healing. Physical is usually doing something physical for the body, and often it looks at diet, nutrition, or exercise. There's a lot of evidence now showing that cancer patients who exercise build their energy and their stamina up, as opposed to staying in bed. So physical exercise, anything you can do, taking a walk would be helpful. Well, mainly we're mainly looking at your attitude, that inner dialogue. So we're trying to open up to the possible, open up to the positive. And so just monitoring our outlook is how we do that. Now, sometimes it's also spiritual reading you might do, or some reading that could be a diversion of some type. But trying to stay mentally alert and mentally active and be sure you stay on target with a positive outlook. Emotional is just becoming aware of what you feel. Sometimes we stuff that down and we don't want to take a look at it. So it's becoming aware of what that is and then being able to talk about it appropriately. Sometimes people go overboard and they talk about it all the time too much. Some people don't talk about it at all. But it's trying to find some way of sharing that with another person. Or if you're not comfortable doing that, you might journal. You just might start writing out some of those. And that can be a helpful thing for people to do. Well, there's some things that can help. Generally, there's no wrong way to journal. All you're trying to do is take the thoughts that run through your mind and put them on paper, and in doing that, you objectify them a bit. You can look at them, and it moves it from inside to outside, and sometimes it's helpful. Sometimes you can give people a structure, and the structure might be that you might journal at the end of the day, and what you do is you journal about 4 things you're grateful for that happened that day. So you go back over the day and you look at things that could be very small. Maybe someone let you in line at checkout at the grocery store and you're grateful for that. It could be something big that happened, but it tries to focus you on the good things that happen. So that might be a structure that some people could use. Well, spirituality is really having that sense that you're connected to something greater than you are. And for many people, that just involves their religion. They get more involved in that. For other people, it might be becoming involved in volunteering to help others. So you wind up giving of yourself to other people. So it's trying to move you from that narrow focus on you, which is sometimes overly self-centered, into looking at what can you do for other people. I mean, some people have had disastrous things happen in their lives, and they've talked about how it made them better. It opened up a new insight to them. It changed in some kind of a powerful way, so they lived a better life afterwards, and they would not have done it had that bad thing not have happened. For some people, cancer does that. It opens their mindset. It makes them look at what they value in life. The main thing we want people to know is that life is stressful. It's always been stressful. It will always be stressful. We actually have a word we use for people who are totally stress-free. That word is dead. Most folks don't want to be that relaxed. So life is always going to give you stress. If you're ill, you're in stress. If you have cancer, you're in stress. If you're going for chemotherapy, you're in stress. What you need to know how to do is recognize what stress is doing to you and then know how to undo it. Now, what stress always does to us is it makes all our muscles get tense. That's so we can take some action, hopefully. But if we can't do that, if we can't take action, then we're kind of stuck. The heart rate goes up, the blood pressure goes up, we start breathing real fast, the stomach knots up. And those are what we notice. We feel anger or fear, we feel irritated or frustrated, and all that's trying to help us run away if we can or fight if we have to, which we can't do in most modern stress because there's nothing to fight and nothing to run away from. So we kind of get revved up and we stew in all these physiological juices, and it takes a toll on us. It creates increased physical symptoms. So what we want people to do is to be able to recognize these symptoms and then to do a stress management exercise, to do something that will make all those go away. Now, the easiest thing that I know to teach people is progressive muscle relaxation, because it's a very simple procedure. You sit in a chair and you take your right hand and you create tension and you hold it for 10 seconds and you let it relax. You do the same thing to the left hand and you work your way up to your head and then down to your feet. And by the time you're through, you've pushed all those muscles into being relaxed. Well, now they don't need as much oxygen, so your heart rate comes down, which lets your blood pressure come down, calms the breathing, blood flows back to the belly, calms it. You start to feel peaceful and pleasant. Your body is now back to normal. You've undone what stress was doing to you. Now, once you get up from that chair and go back out into the real world, it's going to stress you again. So later in the day, you do this again. So if you build into your life a relaxation exercise and you do it every day, then as stress builds up, you bring it back down. Now, that exercise might be that you engage in meditation. It might be that you do Tai Chi. You might do yoga. You could engage in prayer. You could do the progressive muscle relaxation exercise. You could use imagery. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you have something that works for you, and then you do it every day. This is another simple solution. Easy to understand, but hard to put into your life. It requires real effort to put it into your life. The advantage of the progressive muscle relaxation is it's almost guaranteed to work. If you do that exercise, it forces your muscles into relax. They don't have a choice. And then these other things happen. So almost everyone I've ever trained immediately feels a little bit better. Well, if you immediately feel a little bit better, that means the more you work at it, it's going to get more and more effective. You're going to learn how to relax quicker and more deeply each time. Well, we often train people with it and get them to get a Walkman and to take it along to their procedure and then to listen to the exercise if it's appropriate right before the procedure or as they get the procedure. There's a lot of evidence showing that progressive muscle relaxation helps control some of the side effects of chemotherapy like nausea and vomiting. So that would be a really good thing for people who are getting chemotherapy to know how to do. Well, guided imagery is another good way to relax, and we can basically develop kind of a scene for ourselves. I often suggest that people just focus on being in their favorite peaceful, pleasant place. and you imagine all the colors, and you imagine the sounds and what it would feel like. Like if you're on the beach, you would imagine the sand and the wind blowing, or if you're up in the mountains, you could imagine something differently. And then in the context of that guided imagery, you could walk around, you could move, you could take a journey, and you use that to get yourself centered and relaxed. Well, I guess there's a range of things people can do. Usually it helps to talk to someone, and that someone could be a family member. It could be a friend. It could be a pastor. And often being able to talk and unburden yourself in that way can be helpful. Sometimes these people might not be able to be objective enough, because you may be talking about distressing things that's hard for them to hear, and sometimes patients don't want to upset anyone else, so therefore they don't say anything. In that case, you might need a third party, and you might look for a counselor. There are lots of counselors that could be available. A psychologist might be appropriate, a social worker might be appropriate, marriage and family therapist, a psychiatrist. It would depend upon what was available in your community and who you felt comfortable seeking out. You can often find clinics in the community that have these professionals available. You could look in the yellow pages. You could ask for referral from your family physician, from your oncologist. Usually the process of entering counseling is trying to find if there's a fit between you and the counselor. So you have to go to a visit and see, how do we work together? And it might take a couple of visits to decide, yes, we can work, or no, we can't. If it doesn't work the first time, that doesn't mean counseling's not for you. It might mean you didn't have the right person. Well, an important thing for people to remember is that this journey we're talking about, this journey into healing, this journey into resiliency, this is a lifelong journey. This is a journey we're all on. No matter what we're faced with, we're always challenged to balance those 4 levels of healing, and we're always challenged to be more and more resilient. And so it's something that we can't stop working on, because tomorrow there's going to be a new challenge. It may no longer be cancer, but it may be a crisis in your family. It may be something in the job. It may just be a world situation. And it's going to be to your advantage to be able to look at whatever that is from the most realistically, that's the key word, realistically optimistic point of view you can, to recognize the effects of stress on you and keep doing those things you do to cope with stress, and to keep trying to enjoy life, to focus on the enjoyable activities and to put those into your daily schedule no matter what.